is a secret. I know you like to keep it clean. No prying eyes to keep you honest. What do you hide when you hide with me? If you think you're clever, then you've never weathered anyone like me. I've been training all my life. Guess your numbers aren't right. Cause when she calls mine, I'm not gonna lie. Those pretty eyes, are you scared now? You can't erase all the things you've seen. Do you like my shows and all my monsters? Now you're my latest favorite thing. Do you wanna play, misbehave, say the ways you plan to hurt me, abuse and drain me dry? Now you wanna know if you'll make it out alive. Nah, I'm not gonna lie. Don't you want my affection? I thought you said you were mine. Won't you join my collection? La 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 la, you'll be fine. Oops.
Hi there, Taryn. Good to see you. Welcome. I do believe you are first. All right. That was Menagerie of Monsters by Joliet4. You can find her on Twitch at Joliet4. Matter of fact, I am going to put in... Hey, Lucitius, good to see you. If you're interested in hearing more of her music or watching her streams, they are a self-described hot mess. However, her music is fantastic. She did a crowdfunded album, which I am very proud to have contributed to, and which I often play here. Tracy, I'm the Bean. Good to see you. All right, let me get to an actual window with me. Aha. So as you can see, we have already started the giveaway for a $10 digital product coupon from Trollord Games. Exclamation point ticket to enter. Trollord Games is a sponsor of our channel, and I'm very, very happy to have them sponsoring the channel. It's they do a lot of great stuff for the community. I get to play along with Tracy on one of their Twitch streams on Sunday mornings. And they've done a lot of stuff for us in terms of just basically general help. And why is this not? I'm looking at my window, and why does that not look right? Huh. Very, very, very professional, job we do here. Can't you tell? I have no idea why that decided it was going to cut off there. But no ticket for you. Why not? Please, listen, you're here, you may as well. Especially since I know you also play the game with me. I feel that in my bones. I actually have one ticket to redeem, one coupon to redeem. I won it on Lord Gazumba's channel, and until they upload some of the stuff that I don't have, which there's not much that I don't have. There's nothing for me to redeem it for either at the moment. So, oh, ooh, that's nice. That's nice. There's some good stuff that you can. Wow. Huh. Yeah. Well, again, I mean, like I said, I would have loved to, but I have, I have all the stuff, so um, that wasn't going to help me much. Let's see if we can get that to stop fluttering. All right, there we go. Adventures Backpack in print is cool. There's some stuff in there that I like. There's some stuff in there that it needs a lot of work, but it is what it is. But I mean, there's always cool stuff. Backpacks themselves are kind of cool. Just do not try to figure out the encumbrance values because you will fail. Many have tried. The encumbrance values there don't quite work. Get a t-shirt, some coffee, and TLG pierogies. Oh man. Willie, I think I found the pierogi place in Winnipeg that you were talking about. I think it's something like West End pierogies or something like that. Which, if I ever actually visit a friend of mine there, I will need to make sure I take advantage of. But that I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know why this virtual background thing suddenly does not like. And we are on a ad break, so yeah. Ooh. I do so love ad breaks. No commercial for you. Oh, cool. Excellent. So anyway, today's actual chat topic was kind of spawned. It's inspired by a chat that I was having the other day. Actually, I think it was Sunday night going into Monday morning, which was, or might have been, I don't even know if it was Sunday night. Might have been Monday night going into Tuesday morning, where I was just, it was a chat that went way too late into the evening. We were talking about paladins and the fact that evil clerics can turn them. And long story short, I'm not going to rehash that whole argument. I am not in favor of evil clerics being able to turn paladins. It doesn't make any sense mechanically to me. And when I went back and looked at the first edition and second edition things, it made it even seem weird, sillier. 2E made more sense than 1E. 1E was just really, really, really weird. And then I took a look, and then I realized with Castle and Crusades, it is just it's overpowered to all hell. So I'm not, there's just no way I would allow that. But there was also other topics of conversation with regarding clerics and paladins, and some discussion as to, trying to make them interesting, trying to make clerics interesting. Some people just were, there was a couple people who were not a big fan of the class in general. And then you had the issue of clerics and paladins. So, what's the purpose of having both of them? Especially when you're playing like old school, where they are followers of gods. Hey, Kern 3, good to see you. Welcome in. I do have a new timer out for my YouTube channel, which currently has a really, really ugly URL because, well, at the moment I only have 2 subscribers. So if you would be so kind to, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, I think it's at 100 subscribers that I can actually get a personalized URL where it's not some big hash number letter word thing. Awesome. I appreciate that. Hey, Greyhawk Mike, good to see you. Yeah, I the argument went on, and I just it doesn't make sense. I tried that and it didn't work for me. That's weird. Maybe because I did channel and then at Phantom NJ. Maybe that was it. Because if that works, hey, that's great. I can fix that. Yes, it does work. Well, will you look at that? Huh. Now I'm seeing on the activity feed things that I didn't see before. Okay, cool. Karen, you are a godsend. Thank you so much for that. So I like I said, I don't want to get bogged down on the whole Clerics turning Paladins debate. Needless to say, I'm not a fan of it. The rules in 1E for it, if you look at the chart for it, is just silly. If you need to see how silly it is, check the progression chart as to when you can start turning certain levels of Paladins. 2E is a little bit better in that 2E treats Clerics trying to turn Paladins like Paladins trying to turn undead, where they're doing it several levels lower. But there's just no good justification why it's just Paladins. Why can't Clerics turn other Clerics? Evil Clerics turn good Clerics. It just did not work for me. And in Castles and Crusades, because of the way turning works in Castles and Crusades, if you had 10 Paladins lined up against 10 Clerics, even at lower levels, the Clerics are going to wipe the floor with the Paladins, which is kind of absurd. I mean, it's not even going to be a fair fight, because you got to figure, if you have even half decent dice rolling, half of the Paladins are going to get turned and just get hunted down while the Clerics beat up on the other ones. But then the question turned to making interesting use of Clerics and Paladins. And I think one of the traps that some DMs fall into is not putting together the kind of structures needed to really make these classes pop. The Paladin ends up becoming generic holy warrior, happens to have some abilities, can do some stuff. Depending on which rule set you're playing with, may or may not have divine spells, or may get spells at a certain level. Have some cool features to them, have some, and then of course the need to stick to their alignment, at least in, prior to 5e, being kind of rough. And 1E at least it was brutal. I mean, if you committed one evil act, you lost your paladinhood. If you did one chaotic act, you had to go seek atonement. So maple candy sounds so good. So I mean, there was a lot of stuff put in place to counterbalance the fact that Paladins did have an interesting power set, the fact that they were immune to fear, the fact that they were, I believe, immune to disease as well, and they could project their power a bit with the divine aura at certain levels, protection from evil, and so on and so forth. It's one of those things where if you just left it at that, it's like, well, all right, it's a cool class, has some cool stuff. Actually, kind of CNC, D&D, really. I mean, especially D&D prior to 5e, because 5e has a really different look at Paladins. You can play them like an older style, but because of the fact that what would normally be divine powers for Paladins in the past is really coming from any higher power. They probably should have renamed the class like a Mystic Warrior, or something like something like Pathfinder did, where they called them champions, and then you had different archetypes where depending on your alignment, you were a specific archetype. Like lawful good were paladins, and so on and so forth. But we can CNC and the AD&D version, or even earlier, anything prior to 5e also works. No. If you committed a chaotic evil act, you were basically just a fighter who was hated by everyone. You didn't get any cool stuff being doing chaotic evil act as a paladin. You basically got screwed. Otherwise, there would have been a lot more paladins doing chaotic evil acts. But again, if you don't do anything, if you don't put any work into like the structure around the class, in terms of for the players in your campaign, a cleric just really honestly ends up becoming a not quite a mage, basically a more a caster who happens to be able to wear armor and actually hit things. Can actually do some damage, do some healing, do some support. I mean, clerics, they're one of the more, in terms of even in CNC as well as especially AD&D, they were very, very flexible characters. They, between the spells and the fact that they could wear pretty much any armor, the only thing that they didn't have was generic clerics. Depending on how you play them, were not allowed to use sharp weapons, so they were limited to bludgeoning weapons like maces, hammers, and the like. The armies of those old villains, a lot of ex-paladins. Yeah, maybe. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. Never mind. Yeah. The idea was, I guess the idea was that they were technically not supposed to spill blood, which, not like having a hammer upside the face is going to keep you from spilling blood. I don't, there's reasoning for it somewhere. Somebody had told me once upon a time why. I always found it to be kind of odd. I mean, to be honest with you, it could very well be the fact that, whatever the justification was, it may very well have been a mechanical thing just to help keep them in check. If you get, especially when you had AD&D First Edition, where a lot of creatures were less affected by bludgeoning, or maybe even more affected by bludgeoning weapons, depending on what you were talking about. Hey, Lord Gazumba, good to see you, sir. We will be raiding into you whenever we are done here. And also, come Saturday morning. What time are we getting started on? Is Saturday morning a 9 a.m. Eastern thing? I should know this. I have the ad here. We'll be playing some BattleTech. Repair time for... Oh, man. Yeah, that's going to be fun. We have a lot of repairs needing to be made. But yes, we will be playing some BattleTech on Lord Gazumba's channel. No. I am not a dentist. Or I should say, damn it, Marcus, I'm a techie, not a dentist. Let me fix the mechs and leave the teeth to somebody else. The inside joke being one of the other characters got beat up a bit and ended up losing his front teeth. And that's gonna be a fun thing to work through on Saturday. Yeah, yep. Oh, that's gonna be a hell of a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. So we were talking about support structures for clerics and paladins, and among the things that one of the things that I find very interesting is, and it's one of my frustrations when I play a paladin or a cleric in a campaign, and nothing is done with not even so much the deity, but with just honestly the religion that they belong to. It's not just the deity itself, but for in some cases the church. Whatever belief system that they use, whichever, all clerics, all clerics and all paladins, they're not a monolith. And depending on your campaign setting and depending on how the gods are defined in your campaign setting, and again, not all campaign settings are the same. And, if you happen to have a campaign setting where there's the monotheistic, or the gods are not really differentiated much. Yeah, 2E was great for that for Greyhawk. I completely agree. It's one of the things that I really, really miss about 2E. Little Bones, well, great to see you. You have something I can... Hey, all the friends are coming out to play. I love this. Little Bones is a Fry streamer, doing independent, playing a lot of independent games. So if you're looking at independent video games, please check out her channel. Some of them are a lot of fun. Some of them are kind of really spooky. It's all over the place. A lot of indie dev computer games, and Bones is just great. that one game you were playing just kind of with the I don't remember the name of the game. It's just, all I remember is just having to go into really weird places and answer really weird questions or stuff. And yes, I think, what am I doing? I forgot. I'm so sorry, Taryn. I should have had you called out already. If you catch Taryn's stream, you will see some amazing work with watercolor painting. She's a watercolor painter, and just it's her streams are a lot of fun because we try to see how much we can distract her from actually getting anything done. Usually it tends to work pretty well. But she does some fantastic work with watercolor. So if you like watching a painter go to work, please support Taryn's stream. And let's see, getting back to the topic at hand once again. Like I said, one of the frustrations I have is when they're, my cleric or my paladin, it really just becomes generic adventure A, B, C, has their powers and just goes and does stuff. And it's not because I'm not looking for more, but there's just nothing put in place to make more of it. How do I voice them? In what sense, Pat? By the way, Pat, since you're, with the fact that you're on so much, do me a favor, if there's a shout out you'd like me to put together for you, whether it be Twitch stream. I know you were doing some Twitch streaming at some point, but if there's something I can shout out for you, just let me know, and I'll put something together. Well, as far as for Paladin's persona, it honestly, and here's where it goes to the fact that clerics and paladins are not a monolith. In the AD&D, because of the fact you had to be, in AD&D 1E, especially because it was so very strict on things that you were not supposed to do at all. And I think that message went a little too far. Oh, nice. Oh, that's very cool. I don't even know what my anniversary is. I probably should know that. It's in like I said, they're not a monolith. So one of the things that should be in terms of persona, a lot of it is going to depend on which god my paladin worships. Now, I'll give you an example. You have for the gods of Greyhawk. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing a paladin as a jock as long as the jock is not an ass. It's. And again, lawful good does not necessarily mean lawful kind. So they could possibly be a little bit of an ass, but you have to be careful how far you take that. It's possible to play a paladin with a bit of a stick up their butt. But like, say I'm playing a cleric or a paladin of Foltest. Not in earlier editions and not in CNC. 5e, I think they bent that rule because of the fact that it's more of a mystic warrior with some higher power, where they almost essentially become melee warlocks, honestly. Somebody made that point and it's kind of stuck with me. There's almost a melee versus a caster warlock. Listen, I mean, 5e is a different animal. There are things about 5e I like. Paladins, unfortunately, were not. I never liked the oath system. I think the oath system, just it didn't work from. I know what they were kind of trying to go for, and I just don't think it works as a thematic. Doesn't work well enough. That's okay. But say I'm playing a cleric of Foltest, or paladin of Foltest. Foltest of the blinding, god of the blinding light, as it is called. They tend to be, pretty much zealots. They are, you follow whatever their, whatever you have out as their core tenets of the faith, and you can check like the Greyhawk wiki to get some idea, or any of the Greyhawk books to get an idea what Foltest is about. But it's a very strict, you will stick to this. You will not deviate from, from these strictures. And they are, if you're not a follower of Foltest, you're wrong. It's kind of simple. I mean, it's not that they acknowledge. It's not that they say other gods don't exist. They just think they just think you should all be following Foltest anyway. If you're a cleric of if you're a paladin of Palor, Palor, they're very much fighting against they are probably the classic hero paladin, I would say. They're the ones who are standing against the darkness. They've got more of a, helping the helpless, being merciful whenever they can, and so on and so forth. Hieronius is closer to Foltest in terms of, having a very, very strict interpretation of, acting properly. They're still the heroic type, very much the heroic type. But they're probably, I would actually probably call them the jocks of paladinhood. But like, each of the different deities have, different belief systems that inform, that should inform how your clerics and paladins are acting. You don't want to have, if you're playing, if you play 5 clerics of 5 different gods and there is no difference in the way you're playing them, and there's no difference in the way they're being treated, or, how things are working for them, something's gone wrong, something's gone wrong. Whether it is, and honestly, for some people, they don't know any better. It may be you're not familiar with, you're not familiar with the, the gods of whatever setting that you're in. Maybe it's never been spelled out what those gods are about. And that's sad, honestly. These are the things that bring life to the campaign. Understanding on a deeper level, what the setting is, How do I handle what in CNC, Jay? In terms of like trying to differentiate between the different ones. So for me, there's a couple of things. One, again, with the Paladins, a lot of it depends on, you know, how they act towards the common person, how they act towards people who are not of their particular faith. And this goes a bit more for clerics too, but the Paladins, you know, because the Paladins have the code that they need to really set to, you know, stick to hardcore core, really. It'll affect the way that they see, you know, it's their worldview is going to be different. You know, the way they approach things, you know, the way they act towards the, you know, unfortunates, the way they act towards people who need their help, the way they, you know, the way, honestly, the way they treat people in positions of power. You know, it's like in Greyhawk, you know, most Fultons and a lot of Fultons, especially those from the Pale, it isn't just people of other, you know, other gods, or, you know, people that are not followers of Fultus. If they're not members of the Pale, they probably don't care all too much. That's not to say that they're going to act evil towards them, because they can't, but there's a difference between not being evil versus actively, you know, how active and how hard they work at doing good things for these people. You know, they'll put some of the work in, but I would say they're not going to go out of their way. They're not necessarily going to take that extra step. And so, you know, and not only that, on the lawful side of things, it's also going to inform, you know, if they're, say, Fultons from the Pale, they're going to take their lead from, you know, the high priests that make up the theocracy, and deciding, you know, what it is they're supposed to be doing. On the cleric side of things, I mean, obviously the same things hold. You need to understand, you know, the deity, what the role of the priests are for any particular religion. And I probably should have had this up ahead of time, but let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. Let's take a look at Rao, another one of the Greyhawk gods, one of the lawful good gods. You know, you have, from a dogma standpoint, Rao teaches that the greatest gift is reason, which leads to discourse, which leads to peace, which leads to serenity. For those who refuse to see reason and resort to violence first, action governed by reason and wisdom is required to restore the peace. Sometimes this action is violent, regrettably. So, you know, just by that alone, you understand that, you know, Paladins of Rao, priests of Rao, are probably going to look to see, you know, they're more likely going to see if a diplomatic, you know, a diplomacy will work before combat works. You know, hey, Chris, good to see you, sir. They're more likely to try to reason with a group, try to get people to surrender, try to, if it's just a matter of not necessarily, you know, some evil, but a chaotic group causing problems in a region, you know, violence is not going to be their first choice. Priests of Rao likely to, you know, would make good diplomats, honestly. However, and it does say that Rao's priesthood urges their followers to reject strong emotion for the common serenity of inner peace. Only when the foundations of law and good are threatened should they take to the battlements. When Rowans are stirred to battle, however, their foes find them a difficult challenge. Calm, implacable, and utterly convinced through the power of reason of the righteousness of their cause. Though slow to act, roused followers act surely, carefully, and with great force. So, they're not the ones fighting with battle cries. They're just. I come to mind there's a scene in Doctor Who where they're talking about he goes and banishes these particular aliens, and puts them all, suffer all to eternity, and the one of them who's basically narrating at that point says, and the worst part was he never raised his voice. Put them all in hellish situations for the rest of their existence, but never raised his voice. So I see it as that kind of thing where, that once the action needs to be taken, they just do it. They're methodical about it. It's not something that they do with glee. They're not shouting the talking about their righteousness at the top of their lungs. They're just doing what needs to be done. That was, the Five Doctors is a great 20th anniversary episode, definitely. So let's go a little further, because then it talks about, in a sense, I'll give this particular one, but you can look at the other. Anyone who wants to follow along, you can look at the other. And again, this is for World of Greyhawk. Whatever campaign world you're in might be different. This, thankfully, people did a lot of work to build up this information that's presented here. But for like the clergy, roused priesthood seek knowledge and prefers peaceful solutions. We've already gone through that part. They are mediators and negotiators. They search for new schools of thought, fabled places of peace and quietude, and powerful magic to further law and good. Around clergy is predominantly male, whatever. I don't need to follow that. They are quiet, studious people. Their motto is, there's time to think and more rarely to act, but in that time, action is wisdom. So, then we get to the temple militant. The Holy Knights of Rao include the Paladins, who are supported by hundreds of fighters and retainers. Paladins of Rao are called envoys or heralds. Their motto is peace through strength of words and weight of reason, but they know that the peace must often be won by strength of arms, and do not fear to use martial as well as their intellectual abilities to bring about the ends they seek. Rao's paladins generally go lightly armed and armored unless expecting the worst. They are serene patrician figures with spotless manners and erudition. They typically wear gray, talking about their garments and such. So, you get a feel for if you're playing a paladin or a cleric of Rao, you now have a feeling of how to fall in line with the general tenets of that particular religion, and it differentiates them. So let's go to a different one. I already mentioned Foltest, so let's look at Foltest. Let's see. Worshippers of Foltest are called Fultons. Some Fultons claim that he set the sun and moon in the sky and maintains them in their rigid procession to show all creatures the one true way. A strict path which allows no deviation, but absolutely assures righteousness or rightness. Such claims are not regarded as doctrine. The Fulton Church is the state religion of the theocracy of the Pale and is the only religion permitted or recognized within that nation. An even more severe Poltine theocracy exists in the bandit kingdom state of Dimre. Foltest's church is also widespread in Nyrond and the Shieldlands. For those of you who have been following my what we call Embers of Empire campaign, you will find that Foltest will become a point of emphasis at some point. As far as the clergy, Foltest's clerics are most active in cities where they seek to reveal the light to unbelievers. They act as lawyers, judges, and arbiters when they're not preaching about their god. They're never completely without light if they can help it. Magical light is preferred, but a candle or a piece of luminous fungus will serve if no other light is available. So again, there you have where the clerics of Rao are more seekers of knowledge, acting as diplomats and and such. Here we have the clergy here are really more about preaching, proselytizing, trying to bring others over to the side, and when not, they are very much heavy in on the law, lawyers, judges, and arbiters. Paladins of Foltest are known as Templars or Inquisitors. They consider questions of morality to be secondary to faithfulness to Foltest and his one true way. They seek the destruction of chaos, darkness, and evil in that order. While some individual Fulton Paladins can be as merciful as Paladins of Palor or Heronius, doubt and mercy are not considered virtues in their tradition, and many believe them to be weaknesses. Fulton Paladins traditionally dress, all right, that we don't need to go through that. I mean, though have to get also the how they dress and the things that they wear is another way to again further differentiate between paladins and clerics of different types. But I mean, again, you get that sense of it's a different god. Their clerics and their paladins should act differently. I mean, there's a different belief system there. Avoid, and hopefully whatever campaign setting you're in, the deities that are described within, I'm aware of some of the Forgotten Realms deities. It's been far too long for me, in terms of speaking to any of them, even prior to 5e. I don't remember, who they all are. I know there's Helm is one of them. I honestly don't remember the different Forgotten Realms gods. I also mentioned Palor. Palor is probably one of my favorites, mostly because it very much strikes me as the more heroic archetype. So Pelorians believe that the life-giving sun is the best cure for all of Earth's ills. Justice and freedom are brought about through charity, modesty, perseverance, and self-sacrifice. Palor's priests teach that the truly strong don't need to prove their power. Pelorians strive to perform so many good acts that evil has no room in which to exist, though they will fight if necessary. Palor is wrathful against the forces of evil and is especially opposed to the undead. However, Palor urges his followers to remember that excessive attentions to things of evil can blind one to the truly important things, compassion and goodness. These are what must be emphasized above all. And Pelorian dogma has it that energy and power of life originates in the sun. Let's see. Talking about the worshippers, it mentions a bunch of different places. Pelori in the World of Greyhawk, Palor's very, very popular god, found in many kingdoms, including Niron. Although Palor's church has a few heresies and schisms, the head priests of his powerful temples are in contact with one another and with the religion's overall leadership. If the secular leaders of one nation place an onerous tax on Palor's temples, word will spread through Palor's hierarchy. Other nations may be persuaded by their Pelorians to apply diplomatic pressure to get the tax repealed. Interesting. So they are very much not only are they spread out across the Flaness, but they are a rather strong organization. They're in terms of it's not just each church on its own. So they act as one unit, which for the most part. Oh, this is interesting. The prelacy of Almor was founded by a paladin of Palor after the battle of a fortnight's length. And though the nation became ruled by an ecumenical council, it remained the greatest center of Palor's faith until Almor was destroyed during the Great Hawk Wars. Almor is now part of the Kingdom of Niron, so yeah, that's definitely, things of that nature is definitely going to come up. Regarding the clergy, so this is the clerics. Palor's clergy heal the sick, bless crops, help the needy, and destroy the evil and undead. They are caring and nurturing with backbones of steel. The Pelorian priesthood attracts many naive youths to its service, but training is rig enough to seed many of them back to their farms. Palor's elite priests are called radiant servants. Palor's favored weapon, is the mace. Investments are typically yellow and gold. Interestingly enough, I didn't realize this. I guess I didn't pay enough attention to it. Palor is served by a small number of druids who behave in ways similar to his clerics, but with a greater emphasis on the care of plants and animals. They usually associate themselves with settlements rather than living as hermits, aiding the community with their hands, spells, and animal companions wherever they can. They are considered to have priest status within the Pelorian Church, though they have a separate hierarchy. Palor is also worshipped in the Old Faith, where he is considered the god of summer. That's interesting. I would not have thought of Palor being a god with druids, but I can do something with that. Pelorian paladins, known as crusaders, are rare, having appeared in large numbers only since the Greyhawk Wars. They are about as common as Mahane's paladins, though the demigoddess's church is much smaller than Palor's. Palor's paladins see themselves as the burning light of the sun, which scour away darkness and evil and bring strength and comfort to the innocent. Though uncommon, they can be found in nearly every nation. Thanks, Jay. We'll talk to you soon. They can be found in every nation in the Flaness, their dress varying according to local culture. They are most common in Niron. Yay. Is anyone wondering why I picked Niron as a place to center my campaign? I think you might be getting a good look at some of the reasons, because there's just a lot there. Yeah, so again, you're seeing, we've talked about 3 different gods, all of which have, obviously they all have clerics, but they all have paladins. And if you note, the emphasis for the paladins is different for all 3. And there are even more gods in the world of Greyhawk that have, paladin, lawful good, are lawful good and have, paladins in their employ. And I can guarantee you that each of those have, a different thing to them. So, to that extent, Pat, I hope that kind of answered your question as far as, as their persona, as far as portraying them. Let your choice of God, whatever deity you decide, help speak to and help inform how you role play that character. And again, even if you create multiple paladins for that god, they don't all have to all play exactly the same, but at least you have a set of guiding, what the guiding principles of your faith are, and such. Rimus, you're right. I really was more Furiandian than as far as Niron. I wanted to get over to the other side because I thought there was more interesting stuff, especially in a post Greyhawk world, because I'm doing a campaign and we're doing this. It is 40 years. Honestly, it's 40 years later. The campaign takes place, and things are even more unsettled on that side of the world. And honestly, there's not been a lot of stuff done in terms of content creators in general on that side of the world. There's one who's prominent in the community. Von Moku has done a lot of work with Nyrond. There's some stuff from the Living Greyhawk campaign that I borrowed. I've used parts of it because they actually did a pretty good job of not going completely bonkers with what they did to Nyrond during the Living Greyhawk campaign. So I've borrowed bits of it, as far as to help inform the near past. But you've got the ruins of the Great Kingdom next door. You've got a kingdom that has been suffering and is still trying to get back on its feet after they basically went bankrupt. It's a kingdom that underwent a coup by one of the princes that eventually ended up failing. And there's a lot of interesting stories to be told there on that side of the world. I needed, as much as I love the whole Furiandi thing, I needed to get away from that side, because the other thing is Furiandi is too close to Greyhawk for me. And, it kind of helps resist that urge to have things end up in the city, as opposed to dealing with just staying within the kingdom and such. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to go to the other side. It do something different for this. So, so we've talked now about the different gods, and again, this is in the world of Greyhawk, and your campaign setting may have different gods with different. And honestly, let me add to this. If you're building a campaign setting and you're building out your mythology for it and the various deities, that is one of the things that you need to consider. It is one of the things that you should put down, not only who the gods are, what they're about, how they differ from each other, and what it means for their followers, especially the followers, their clerics, their paladins. How are they different? Because again, you don't want the various character classes, especially when you're playing, older school, where it's a more linear. When I say linear leveling path, I mean, what you're getting at any given level. There's no builds. There's no radical subclasses where it really changes the nature of the class, and things are differentiated just by subclass alone. You should have an idea of what those gods are about, what their followers are about, and bring that depth to them for your players to take advantage of. And then of course, make sure that regardless of whether you're doing your own campaign setting or whether you're using a published campaign setting, whichever setting it is, it doesn't really matter, honestly. Make sure you're making that have an impact. One of the easiest ways to have that is if you're a paladin, have missions for the paladin, or have the churches be a place where the paladin can get information, possibly a source of adventures. They may have a job for the paladin to do, and the group as well. You don't want to abuse that, because you don't want your campaign to become all about the paladin. But there's nothing saying that from time to time you can't have a mission that the paladin needs to undertake, and bring your friends along. Make it a place where they can get information. Where a place where they can find respite if the party's taken a beating. it's a place where they might be able to hide out if they're in unfamiliar territory, otherwise unfamiliar territory. Then they're not playing near their home base. They're in a town miles and days away. If there happens to be a church or temple dedicated to that god, it's some place where they can they might be able to get some help. And not only that, it's also a place where if the group here's one of those important things. We talk. There are constant conversations regarding death in D&D and Castles and Crusades and such, and characters dying and so forth. Having a cleric or a paladin of a particular god, and having the other players, do missions that the paladin or the cleric occasionally gets, is also a good way to build up some of that goodwill that could possibly make the difference in having to roll up a new character or having a character get resurrected or raised dead or whatever the case may be. Or be able to get services like healing for less than you otherwise would. There are things that you can do. Use the religion that they're following. Use the structures that are put in place. The dogma, the belief system that they use for not only informing how to roleplay those particular characters, but also for things for them to take advantage of, because this is going to bring a layer of depth to your campaign. It's going to bring, it's going to make playing those character classes that much more interesting. You want anything that you can do to get buy-in from players, and it makes it for the cleric and the paladin of a particular. If you're actually making active use of their faith and such to impact their gameplay, you're going to get buy-in. It's because it's going to feel more real to the player. You're not generic. You're not generic fantasy or warrior with special powers A, B, C. Suntanning lessons from the Paladin of Baylor. This is. Hey, Lord Forth, good to see you. Well, welcome in. I do want to mention we do have a giveaway going on. Exclamation point ticket to enter. It is a $10 gift card for towards any digital products from the Trollord Games website. I think the website is having problems at the moment, so they were working on it today. I don't know if they've got it back up yet, but $10, this exclamation point ticket to enter. Right now, your chances of winning are really, really, really good. So no need to be shy. But yeah, I mean, anyone have any thoughts or questions or anything that I didn't cover? Any situations I didn't cover? Don't trust the cleric if they. Yeah, but does it mean you can trust Sonius because he's a paladin? I really like Sonius as a character. When he first pulled out the whole pamphlet thing, I have to admit I was laughing pretty hard. I especially like the fact that he puts pamphlets on the enemies that he's killed. Paladins are okay. Oh man. So I did mention that while people were thinking of questions or they might have for me, or things that they'd like me to touch on with regards to paladins and clerics, I do want to bring up that, first of all, like I said, on Saturday, I will be playing on Lord Gazumba's stream at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. We'll be playing BattleTech. This is the second adventure we're doing. This is the second adventure we've done in a couple of weeks now. It's actually the next day. We're in a bit of a small mini campaign within the larger BattleTech campaign, where we're on a planet and things are not necessarily going okay. We managed to complete our first objective, but we took some hits. Patrick, Canadian Ancient Gamer, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for dropping in. On Sunday, I will be on the TLG stream, playing some Castles and Crusades. We will, and you have something? Playing some Castles Crusades. I'll be playing my illusionist, Nadia Payne, who is, though she be low level and an illusionist, is really, really good at commanding the battlefield. I love the Castles and Crusades illusionist. As a matter of fact, at some point I need to do a topic about that, but I also need to take a look at some of the stuff at higher levels, because right now, she's the highest illusionist I've actually gotten to play, and she's only level 4. A return to the Rovers. Dirty Dwarf, good to see you, sir. Thank you for dropping in. Exclamation point ticket to enter the giveaway. Right now, we only have one person entered, so don't be shy. It's for a $10 gift card for Troller Game site for any digital product. All right, excellent. That's 2. I mentioned BattleTech on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, playing Castles and Crusades on Troller Games channel. And then Sunday night, this is going to be a lot of fun. Sunday night, we have the Embers of Empire campaign continues. This one is a brand new group, the Flashbangs. I named them. They left the naming of the group to me, and I was trying to find something that fit the group, which is a very, very, very interesting makeup of the group. Coco Bunny 94 is playing. Little Bird is playing. Curtis and Ibier is Brett are all playing. So we've got a rogue. We've got a rogue. We have an illusionist. We have a paladin and a barbarian. I can't see how this could possibly go wrong. This will be, as far as I know, this will be Coco Bunny and Little Bird's first time playing Castles and Crusades. You have seen them playing on Jay's channel and playing some AD&D and Jay's channel. And actually, all 4 of them just did a Champions game this past Saturday, which unfortunately I was not able to catch. I need to watch the video for that, because I'm sure that was a hell of a lot of fun. But this group is going to be, this group is just going to be completely off the rocker. As soon as I mentioned, the name Flashbangs, everybody immediately keyed on the word bang. I'll leave that to you to interpret as you will. But 9:30 p.m. on Sunday evening, part 1 of The Hunted Halflings. Part 2 will take place 2 weeks later on May 19th. But again, this will be 9:30 p.m. Eastern. It'll run till about midnight, and then we will do part 2 2 weeks later. And beyond that, I think, unless anyone has anything, again, we do have the giveaway, exclamation point ticket to enter. Right now, I've got 2 entries. I am going to give it until 7:34, and then I will close the giveaway. I do have another group coming up in June. That's going to be on a Wednesday evening. That's also going to be a later game, but they're all like on the West Coast, so I don't mind. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that group. That group, it'll be they played during the fundraiser. They were the middle of the three groups that played in my three games in 2 days session over the week before the St. Jude's fundraiser when I ran 3 games. I wasn't going to be able to be there, and they were off the wall as expected. So I'm looking forward to them. They named themselves the TAP Squad. TAP standing for Terrifying and Amazing People Squad. So sounds about right. So in the meantime, while we wait for the giveaway time to happen, again, you got about another minute or so before I close it out. I am going to go to stream ending and then get the raid set up. All right, raid has been created. And we are at 7:34. Going to close the giveaway out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Giveaway is closed out. The winner is Dirty Dwarf 77. Congratulations, sir. I will get this to you shortly afterwards. So please get your rated emotes ready. We are rating Lord Gazumba. I may be starting a bit late next week. I'm not sure yet because I have to go into the office. We'll see what happens. But I will see you all this weekend. See ya on the flip side.